If you're like me, back when I first started doing audio engineering, I would scroll through Sweetwater and just look at this equipment and say, man, that stuff, I would love to have that stuff on my mixes or on my masters. But, you know, my customers, myself, we're not going to even reach 3,500 hours worth of profits on the music. Like, realistically, that's just not going to happen. As much as I would love to have this Rupert Neve Designs 5059 summing mixer, it just doesn't make business sense. There's no ROI on it. You know, and the same thing goes with the Manley ELOP Plus. Or let's just say, man, I wanted to treat myself for Christmas or for my birthday, and, you know, is it really going to make that much of a difference? Well, I can't take the $3,300 risk to try the Manley ELOP Plus, which is an LA2A clone with a little bit of extra stuff thrown in there. You know, or the same thing goes with a Pultec. I mean, this is a $4,000 equalizer for one channel. This is not even a stereo thing. One channel of audio for $4,000. So if you want stereo, you got to plunk down $8,090 plus shipping, right? I don't know if shipping is free at this point. Oh, I'm sorry. There's actually a $450 off right now. Limited time offer. 12 days left. You know, is it worth it for me to plunk down $8,000 for two of these? Or the classic 1176, $3,000, right? Right? Or go all the way across the pond, called the Atlantic Ocean, to Toman, because Sweetwater doesn't sell the Tegeler Creme. Now, what is the Tegeler Creme? It combines, or at least, you know, that's what it says on the tin can. This is why I'm getting to the point here. This is an SSL bus compressor clone combined with a few Pultec frequencies. Okay? If you don't know what all that means, it's basically a stereo chain that is typically put on the mix bus or masters, all for about $1,600. Not bad. Not bad at all. Or let's say you got some vocals or bass, and oh man, you keep hearing from these people that the TubeTech CL1B is the bee's knees, but you can't even buy one because they're out of stock. So even if you had, you know, $5,000 burning a hole in your pocket, you couldn't get one of these CL1Bs that everybody says is, you know, you need it. You need it. You need it or you're not a professional. Or let's just say, hey, you know, you're a little bit more reasonable like me, and you know, you can afford the stuff that's under $1,000. You can skimp for that. You know, you can scrounge up the George Washingtons and the Jacksons and maybe a few of the Benjamins as well. You know, scrounge them up, and or maybe you don't want to wait 2 to 3 weeks for shipping. You know, but maybe you do. Whatever. But $700, that's not gonna kill you, right? Or maybe, you know, you can't get the $4,000 Pultec, but the Warm Audio EQ PWA, $800 looks pretty enticing, but how good does it actually sound? Plus, you get that extra frequency, or actually, there's 3 extra frequencies, I believe. Plus, I think there's another one here. Anyway, you want to know what this actually sounds like, because you don't trust the 38 reviews, right? You don't trust the 38 reviews. And finally, you say to yourself, you know what? I just hit the lottery. And the Neve 1064, I want a bunch of them, and I have $85,000 to spend. Let's say if they included shipping and handling with this. Nope, you got to pay for shipping. $1,000 of shipping. In addition to the $84,400. Okay? But let's just say you won the lottery and you're like, you know what? I'm finally going to do it. But let me see if it's actually worth it to get it from VSJCS in Nashville, Tennessee. Let's see if it's worth the $85,400, right? But you're like, well, how do I do that? Well, this is what you do. You download a plugin called the Analog Matrix from accessanalog.com. And then you load it up in your DAW, your digital audio workstation. Mine is Reaper. I love Reaper. Kakos Reaper. Great company, right? And then once you make yourself an account, and I think you might even have to plunk down $15. If you don't have $15 to plunk down, find another hobby, because audio engineering ain't it. So anyway, once you get your starter subscription going and you load the plugin up after installing it, you hit connect, all right? After you type in your credentials, as they say. You hit connect. And then you say, click here, right click. Look at that. You now, from the fingertips of your digital audio workstation, you have access to the real stuff. Now, yes, you can't record with this stuff. And yes, it's going to go through a loop of ADA, DDA, or D to A and A to D, analog, digital analog, and then analog to digital. Yes, it's going to do that, but guess what? They also have great sounding converters. So if you're concerned about that, I didn't talk about that expense. Yes, they have an Aurora N from Lynx and the Antelope Galaxy. And what you can do is you can see how much your audio is affected with a loopback. Is it really that bad? Well, you can find out for free. They don't even charge you for the loopback. So, going back to what you have now, at the tip of your fingertips, for just $15 to start with. Look at all this stuff. For free, by the way, is the Audioscape bus compressor. So you can try it out before you spend $700. Let me go back to it. Before you spend $700 and then wait 3 weeks for it to be shipped to you, you can try it out and see if it's good or not. Now, right now somebody's using it, so I can't load it up. But look at this. You have this, which is basically a Neve, what's that, 5054. And speaking of that, we actually have, where's it at? Did they take it out of the rack already? Hold on. It's got to be in there somewhere, right? Here it is, the Shelford compressor. All this stuff I have been meaning to review, by the way. So this is like another Neve, what's it? What did I say? 255, whatever the model number is. I can't remember. I should have had all this written down. But anyway, it's the Neve compressor that apparently is good for drums, good for vocals. But that's besides the point. The point is, you now have access to all this expensive equipment. I believe the total now is over $100,000 worth of equipment. Easily over $100,000. So you don't have to dream anymore. And you don't need $4,000 for a Pultec, because guess what, baby? Guess what? Where's it at? There it is. The Pultec. And guess what? You got not just one, but you got two. Oh yeah, there's your $8,000. Okay? There's your $8,000 that you didn't have to spend. Now, this is what I have to say about that. If you get to a certain point in your audio engineering career or your musicianship career where you can afford this stuff, I say go ahead and get it. Plus you got to buy the rack. So, the rack plus the converters plus the equipment itself. If you're at that point where you don't have to worry about it anymore, go for it. But you'll at least know what you like and what you don't. Is this tube tech worth $5,000? Is it worth $5,000? Or could you just use a plug-in? Well, you're going to know for sure. And you don't have to listen to me. You don't have to listen to a salesperson. You don't have to listen to another user who has confirmation bias because they already plunked down the $5,000 and they want this thing to be the miracle cure for their bad audio. You don't have to listen to any of that. You can check it out for yourself. Manley ELOP, man. Is this thing worth, what did I say it was earlier? Is this thing worth $3,300? You're going to find out. and you're going to run your dog's barks through this thing, because it's not going to cost you $3,300 to do. So if you want to send some dog barks through this $3,300 piece of equipment, you can do it. You can do it. Oh, and look at this, the pi limiter. This thing is ridiculously expensive. You know, is it worth the price? Is it worth, I don't even know. Let's look it up right now together. Because we already know 85,000. So we got pi limiter. If there's even any for sale, here we go. So, okay, so here's a clone for 2,000. Here we go. Here's a real vintage one. $13,000 for this thing. $13,000 for the Pi Audio 4060. And you can rent yours. What's that say? $15 an hour. So that's plenty of time to send a few mixes through or a few drum buses through or whatever. You know, if that's too much money, again, like I said, if you want warm audio, and this is one of the cheaper things you can rent, there's all my presets. It's another thing. You can recall things that you couldn't do with, you know, regular hardware. You need to actually take a picture of things, remember where the settings were. This is Robotic Recall. You know, so you just do that and the knobs, the physical knobs in Colorado move, and there you go. So awesome. Analog, I'm sorry, Access Analog keeps getting better as the years go on. And this is version, what? 7.2.10, right up there. You know? And if for some reason the normal internet isn't working, you choose this standard routing, go to AWS routing, and see if it works better for you. Typically it will if you are in like Europe or Asia. Oh, I forgot to mention this part. So let me go to another server rack. Oh yeah, there's another one. There's more than just one. There's 3 now. I don't know where the other guy went. Palma Studio, I guess they said, we're not doing it anymore, which is fine. So here's the chains. Here's the mastering change, which I'm going to have to quickly talk about. So they have some custom gear up here, but they got the dangerous BAX EQ. I'm not going to really try to show you what you can't buy yourself. This takes a while to do this. See? It better hurry up because I don't want to get charged. I'm just going to delete the plugin. Oh, here we go. Really quickly. Oh. It's going to charge me. No. No. There's more in that rack, but again, the point is to just have access to all this stuff. I mean, that is the name of the company, right? Access Analog. But that's what they really are. I mean, you now have this expensive stuff. Now, I wish you could, like, have access to microphones that were really high end for, you know, just like an hour or something. That would be cool, right? But obviously they can't do that remotely. But everything else, if it can be done and used with a piece of rack gear, they more than likely have it. You know? Okay, disconnect. I don't know a quicker way to do it than that. But back to their normal rack, because I didn't show you guys everything. So look at this. All those, here's the 1176. Here is the LA2A, which is like a $4,000 compressor. And again, you can recall your settings. You know? What else? The Variable Mu, which is like a Fairchild kind of, sort of. And then we have this baby. Another Tegeler audio deal. What else? What else? Oh, the saturators. That's right. We have the Silver Bullet. This is why I was so excited to get the Silver Bullet plug-in, but the hardware still sounds an eensy bit better. You can push it. You can push it more. The sweet spot is wider, as they say. Meaning it's there's less chances of you screwing something up, is the best way to put that. Let's see what other equalizers they have. So they have the API 5500. Let me show you guys how much that cost over on Sweetwater. I'll pull that up right now. Let's just go to Reverb and look it up. Because that's not fair. Because you could technically own this stuff cheaper than the full, retail price. So there you go. $2,200. $2,500. Here's a new one, $3,100. Let's actually look that up right here. So the brand new price is $3,300 for a API 5500. And then what else do we have here? And again, the thing I like is you get to check this stuff out before you, it saves on, like back in the day, if you had a good relationship with a dealer, you get stuff shipped to you and then you would still have to ship it back. And so you would have to pay return shipping. You just get to keep this and not keep it, but you get to try it out for yourself. And yeah. So this is kind of like their Muse EQ, but not really. It's based off of it, kind of, sort of. It's actually pretty cheap. Look at that, $4.30 per hour, approximately. And then what else? We have a bunch of vintage Neve equalizers. The 1058 is the cheapest one. I don't know why. Let me see. Let me see how much the 1058 is. Okay, well that's a clone. They don't have any for sale right now. Let's try the 1057. Nope, there's none in stock. The thing I really like about Access Analog now is you can do this. So instead of like back in the day, you had to do a real-time processing of the audio. So basically you would use double your credits. No, guess what? You can now upload audio. You drag and drop it from your I don't know what it's called on Windows 10, but File Explorer. I don't know what it's called on Apple, but you drag it and then it uploads. And then once you're ready to go with the audio, it processes. So you're only spending the minimal amount of money, and you can upload your files before you connect to any of the rack gear. So that's another big change that they did. Is I always thought that was a waste of credits. So now you have that, and under preferences, they have some extra options that they didn't have before. If you want to wait for something, like let's say somebody's using, what did I say? I don't know if it's available right now. Hold on. So let's say somebody's using, oh, okay, I can show you the Distressor now. So there's a Distressor, the real deal. And they have two of them, so you can use it for mix bus duties if you need to. And I think the way to actually do that is, bam. And I'm not sure if it's cheaper to do. I think it might be cheaper to do it this way. Let me look. Okay, 9 credits per hour versus... Okay, nah, it's basically the same price. But like I said, they have a few things that you can use for free. The Iron Age AudioWorks LH95. And what was that? The Audioscape. I don't know if that's it. So here's the tape simulator. I haven't tried out a lot of these newer ones yet. But, in fact, I don't know why... Oh, that's right, the Culture Vulture Super 16. Or Super 15. Tube saturation. They sell the black box. Yep, the black box HG2. I love it. Let me just open them all up. You know what? Here we go. There's that. I already showed you guys the Distressor. And it's set up similar to how the real hardware is, if not exactly the same. Giraffe, I honestly have not like used this enough to really get into, but it looks like they have presets up there now, which is nice. They didn't have that before. So it's called the Giraffe G24, which I think is like 2 compressors in one. And then here's another one I haven't ever tried out. The Highland Dynamics BG2. And I already showed you guys the ELOP Plus. They have a 33609N from AMS Neve. So that's pretty cool. Again, this is all just stuff that'll make your audio sound better if you know what you're doing with it. I already showed you guys the Pi. Here's the actual SSL XLogic G comp. So I use this a lot. In fact, I will probably keep using this because I use this over the SSL Bus Plus because it's just easier to use. I know what I'm doing with it. I made my own preset called Magic SSL Settings. I did a video about that a long time ago. But here's another one. I already showed you the Shelford compressor, and then that one, TubeTech, did that already. 1176. The one thing they don't have is the all buttons in mode. I don't think they're ever going to add that. But there you go. And then I already showed you the LA2A, the Variable Mu. They have 2 of them, which is cool. To be honest with you, and this is no shade at Access Analog, it's not their equipment after all. I mean, it is they own the equipment, but they didn't make it. The Variable Mu honestly disappointed me. I don't know if I'm using it incorrectly or what the deal is, but you know, that's a like. Let me look it up. It's a very expensive piece of equipment, and you know. Here's like the normal one. So this will be the equivalent of the mastering version. But let's just say you even got the cheapest one. So the cheapest one, here we go, $5,000. I didn't like it that much. I honestly didn't like it that much. So I just saved myself $5,000 because, you know, why buy something that you don't like, you know, and then you're going to sell it to somebody else or send it back, and then that's like, you know, $50 for shipping. You save yourself time, you save yourself money. This is a great little service. Like, honestly, I don't know why more people don't talk about it. I guess it's because they're like, oh my God, I spent $30,000 on this nice rack, and I'm not going to tell anybody how to get the same thing for pennies on the dollar, you know. Again, if you have that 30 grand laying around, if you have that 50, even if you have the 10, go for it. But man, the people that I work with, they're not making $10,000 on their music. I'm lucky if I get paid on time from these people. Like, seriously. But all right, here we go. Manley, did I talk about that already? Here it is, the Massive Passive. Here's another one that I like the plugin. And here's what I do actually. So what I'll do is I'll use the plugin to get like the settings approximately where they're going to be, and then I'll load this up in Access Analog, and then, you know, match the settings from the plugin to the real deal. But I'll show you that. So the Massive Passive ain't bad. It's basically like a larger Pultec, you know, with more bands. Look at that. My goodness, $7,000 for the normal version, $8,400 for the mastering version. And you get to use it for about $12 per hour, you know? And again, if you're working for somebody else, you know, you can now say, hey, I can do some analog mastering, or I can do some analog mixing. Now, what I do is I obviously I don't put this stuff on every single track when I'm mixing, because that would just be way too expensive. And now, if somebody wants to pay for that, absolutely, but they're going to pay for it. It's not going to be cheap. But what I'll do is I'll just put this stuff on like the main lead track. So like vocals, maybe a kick drum. Oh, that reminds me, I now don't have access to a DBX compressor. That kind of makes me sad. Because Palma Studios is not on this list anymore. But I'm going to keep going through this. So I already talked about the vintage Neve equalizers, the really old ones, the 1064, and there's two of each, which is pretty neat. So we got the 1057, the 1058, the 2057, and the 1064, like I just said. And then we have the Pultec reissue equalizers. And then we finally have the cheapest one of all, the Warm Audio clone, which, to be honest with you, I like it. I like it a lot. In fact, I wish they had two of them so I could use it on a stereo mix bus, you know. But it's cool that I got to try it out before, you know, potentially buying it. Now here we go, multifunction stuff. Now this is some newer stuff, all right? So they have the Avalon, which allegedly is good for vocals and bass primarily. But it's got a few things on it. It's got a compressor. It's got a equalizer. They only have 2 presets. Oh, I gotta fix that. I'll have to dig through this one day and maybe come up with some presets, because that's not cool. But anyway, master bus converter. First of all, what even is that? And are we not using 2 S's anymore? Is that like out of style now? Like, what is going on? Oh, wait a minute. So there's 2 with the master bus, but then these 2 are 1S. So let me look at what that actually means. Here we go. Master bus converter, dual path, 88 converter, and limiter. Okay, so this is a $4,000 piece of equipment. It's got 6 reviews. But what does it actually do? Excuse me. I ripped my throat apart the other day. I'm still recovering from it. Okay, so we have a transformerless path for transparency, or you put the transformer in for, see, this is all marketing stuff. The warmth, the weight, the punch of Rupert Neve's classic designs from the golden age of analog. All right. And so it has it's called the variable silk function. So let me zoom into the controls here. Because that is one thing I don't like about Access Analog, is that you, like, it's because I'm getting old, man. It's because I'm getting old. You know? The controls are a little bit small. You know, the text is a little bit small. So in future, you know, for version 8.0, I would like to see the ability to, you know, make this be the entire GUI without the extra controls around it. But let me look at this. So that's what I would suggest to you, is to look at the user manual, look at reviews, look at where these controls are. And one of the reasons I'm showing you guys the GUIs is so that you can pause the video and zoom in on it. I actually have some videos of that already on this channel. Maybe I'll make a separate one where I zoom in on the GUIs, so that when you go to use this stuff, you're not wasting time figuring out where everything is. So, okay, from left to right, we have a sidechain high pass filter button. We have a frequency, the frequency for the sidechain. I'm assuming that's what this is. And then we have, okay, so the controls are replicated or duplicated on each side. We have channel A with a gain knob. Threshold, I'm assuming, is for the converter. Well, you know what? I don't want to assume anything, because there might be a compressor in this thing. So, all right, transformer in, there we go. So in the center is where there's not duplicated controls. And you can choose either red or blue. Red is for the high mids, blue is for the low mids. And then you adjust this knob right here. I don't know if you can see my, I'm pointing to the texture knob. And that's where you add the saturation in. So, and apparently there's also a limiter function. But I'm going to read this description. And like I said, my suggestion to everyone is to read through the different product literature, read through the user manuals before you know, even waste a few bucks, you know, like, because you don't want to be frustrated and they say, well, I didn't have enough time to use it and figure everything out. Learn it beforehand as much as you can, you know? Okay, so this thing has saturation. Here we go. Active compound release limiter. The analog limiter in the MBC features a proprietary intelligent active release curve that takes the worry and guesswork out of prepping your masters. You can push your level. Okay, so this is like a clipper basically. And which is one thing people, mastering engineers would do this even though they weren't supposed to, is they would push the masters into the analog to digital converter, and then that would get like an extra 2 decibels or 3 decibels of volume without it sounding bad. So, yep. Rupert Neve's 80 series consoles had a huge, punchy, and authoritative sound. And see, that's the thing, man. You would read this stuff back in the day. It would be catalogs or website. You know, you would read all this marketing material and be like, man, I want this, but I don't have $4,000. I don't have $4,000. And then you would read the reviews and you would get envious of the other audio engineers who did have the money to, you know, buy this stuff. And, you know, whoever Patrick Perfetto is and Mark Driftmeyer, and you'd be jealous of these guys and you'd say, man, you know, I wish I had this stuff. I wish I had the extra spending money. I wish I had the people coming to me and using my skills and services, and then I could eventually buy this stuff. But, you know, cart before the horse and all that. Well, now you can put the cart before the horse. Now you can have, again, access to all this cool equipment without going broke. That's the key thing. And that's a very important thing in this day and age, is that, yes, you want the quality, but you don't want to, you know. So my point is, you'll be able to have access to the tools that you wouldn't have had access to. Because, yes, plugins are really good. But I'm still of the opinion that compressors and saturation, to an extent, the equalizers, if there's transformer or tubes in them, but saturation and compression is still not 100% there with plugins. But you don't have to worry about that now, because now you have a plugin that actually is the real hardware, which is pretty neat, right? But yeah, I mean, look, all these people giving the 5 stars or 4.5 stars, and you're like, man, I want this. I want this. I want this. Now you can have it. Now you can have it. And, you know, you can either get a subscription for, you know, every month. You can buy credits outright. I think when I first started, I bought like the $140 plan or whatever it is. It's the one that, anyway, that seemed like the best bang for buck. Although the $320 one's probably the best deal if you do the math on all that. But anyway, I think I talked enough about this. They have some really cool equipment up. I look forward to finally using this. Let's see if somebody gave it up. Nope, somebody's still using it. Can I use the LH? Nope, somebody's on that now. Okay. Well, that's the one thing about sharing stuff, is that sometimes there's another man or woman using your stuff. Reverbs. Oh yeah, I forgot the Bricasti. Bricasti, let's look it up. Bricasti M7, which, you know, I just talked about a free plugin that was released. But if you want to use the real thing, you would, for the cheapest one, wait a minute. Okay, for the cheapest one without a remote control, $4,750. And for those that don't know, this is like the Cadillac or the Ferrari or the whatever of Reverb hardware. Look at that. 5 stars from 14 reviewers. And again, you look at this and you're like, man, I want an M7. I want an M7 because it's going to make my vocals sound like, you know, I don't want to say Taylor Swift because Taylor Swift is not the greatest singer. Adele. Adele probably uses a Bricasti Model 7, right? Adele is the one buying the Bricasti. Well, guess what? You now have the Bricasti. The real Bricasti is right there at your fingertips. You got all the presets. Because the free plugin that I talked about, it doesn't have the ability to adjust a lot of these controls that are down there. So let's change this to Icehouse. And then anyway, yeah, you have all these controls to get the reverb to exactly what you want. And you don't have to spend almost $5,000 for the privilege. You are now the privileged individual. Because now you know about the Analog Matrix Access Analog plugin. It's the real deal, folks. How do I know it's the real deal? Because sometimes it breaks and sometimes there's glitches. Also, they've been at different trade shows with their equipment. So I you know, with their robotic stuff. And anyway, yeah. So like I said, Bricasti's not losing money because I wouldn't be able to afford this stuff anyway. But maybe eventually after I mix a Taylor Swift or master for a Taylor Swift, I can finally, you know, get enough business going where the M7's just going to be a drop in the bucket. But that day ain't today. That day is not today. So if you ever wondered what the, you know, the real deal sounds like, if you want the real deal on your mixes, on your masters, the best audio gear I have purchased. Well, guess what, Ryan Mowdy? I also have the M7. So back in 2015, when it was only the rich people and the people that could had the extra luxury money to spend on the M7, well now a guy like me who doesn't have that extra spending money, but he does have an extra $150, you know. Thanks to Access Analog and Mix Analog, by the way. Don't forget about the guys over in Europe. They're still alive for now. But who knows if that will end one day. Like I said, I no longer have the DBX, which makes me really sad, but oh well. You know, you snooze, you lose. So DBX 165, I no longer have that to make some cool sounding kick drums and snare drums, but oh well. So, yeah. The bomb. Now I have the bomb, and so do you. We all have the bomb. We all have what Alan Reed has. You know, this is socialism at its finest. What? Anyway, I'm done, man. I'm done. Oh my God, this is how long was this? This is a 40-minute video. Man, if you guys are still here, I give you credit, but I like to just talk sometimes about this stuff because I really do. To me, it's like, you know, this equipment, you know, we're literally recording history. We're recording audio history, and we want to make sure that history is enjoyed to its fullest for current and future generations. And, you know, the fact that I can now use an M7 on my mixes and my masters is pretty darn cool.